The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.
Welcome back, guys. I've just better let the listeners know that we're going to be a little bit out of sync because it's actually New Year, but we recorded a couple before Christmas. But because I decided to have a long period of time off. We've had to have a season 2, or we've been invited back by our sponsors to have a season 2. So
we're doing something right then.
We're doing something right. So I appreciate everyone who's been listening beforehand, and sorry we've been out of the thing for a month, loop for a month. But
it's been great. I've been getting questions. Is it coming back? You know, when are you filming again? Are you done now? Nah.
I got that. Yeah,
just a bit of a break.
Yeah, just a break because January's a hard month to recover from Christmas. I'll tell you what, December was the busiest time I think I've had for many years. Going, every event is in Christmas, isn't it? You know, kind of see customers, bits and pieces like that. So,
yeah.
So how was your? What did you get up to?
Do you know what? I didn't get up to much, right? And I know that sounds boring. I'm talking about specifically Christmas. Leading up to Christmas, I was flat out, but I was absolutely glad to do next to nothing, apart from visit family, friends, all the rest of it over Christmas. And that suited me because I had a little bit of annual leave, which I used, and
nice.
I'd almost 2 weeks off. So really nice time to recharge and all the rest of it. I watched, everyone keeps going about this series called Traitors. I watched a bit of that. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I watched
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
No, it's not my type of thing. I get anxiety when I watch some programmes.
Anxiety.
I'll tell you what
deep,
reason in a minute with what's done me nutting over the period. But you know, what about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I did the same, to be fair. Do you know what? Christmas is so nice, isn't it? Because it's like the one time really where everyone sort of switches off together. You know, otherwise it's almost like you go on holiday, you're still getting texts, still getting phone calls, you know, emails, etc. But it's nice when you know, everyone just switched off together. So I chilled as well. You know, I did a bit more moving in, which has been great. So just getting more rubbish from, you know, my parents' house and sort of bringing that back over to the bungalow, which has been good. So yeah, it's
You're in there now, yeah?
Oh yeah, fully in there.
You're in there without you know, going back and doing the washing or anything like that.
All day, yeah, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did see that that comment, Rian, on the on Facebook about me doing me. Was that you? You little bastard.
You're the only guy I know that's been moving in for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think you want to leave home.
It's all. Oh, mate, I'm gone. It's been amazing. It's been so good. So, I mean, to be fair, like I moved out about, I don't know, sort of 3 years ago for about a year, and then I went back, like, you know, to personal circumstances. Won't share too much on the old pod, but I moved back, and then obviously COVID hit and whatever, and then it's just been a bugger sort of trying to get out of the house. So yeah, when I bit the bullet, I was chuffed, but I didn't expect it to take me like a whole year to sort of do the old place up. But it's been nice sort of getting in our own space, you know. So yeah, really, really good. So yeah,
I had a similar one. I took it really easy, you know, didn't. It's been a really tough year. I mean, it's been a tough year in the industry, hasn't it, really, for everybody?
Yeah.
And it's been a tough year. And so I did a bit of travelling in January, Copenhagen, just been to France with our friend of the pod, Ricky Ellen. Thanks for that, Ricky. And Neil Newsom from Speedy was over there with our other halves and having the good crack, as they say.
You get a bit of skiing in? Or?
No. This
is
south.
South.
I was south.
South France.
Weather was
good
excellent.
Weather. Yeah.
In between that, I had to do a driving speed awareness course. I don't know if you've ever done that. So that's what I'm about to start with. What's doing my fucking head in. Yeah. and it's my fault. I mean, I did 39 in a 30.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm.
Seems like your
bang
fault
to rights.
there.
Bang to rights there by the looks of it. You know, a little camera tucked around the corner, but I'm not bitter about that. I'm grateful that I didn't have to travel to do the speed awareness course. I don't know if you've ever done one of them before.
I've done one online some years ago, and then going back many years, I had to physically go to a classroom somewhere.
Oh, so you do put your foot down now and again, do you, Mark? Yeah.
Well, not really, because we're going back. That's why I use the word many years. You know what I mean? But
the speed awareness course works.
So, what's done my head in about it? It was nothing to do with the course itself. You know, First of all, I had it booked for a day and forgot about it. Mm-hmm. So I had to rebook. That was another 30 quid. And I got it for the next day, lucky enough. Then, I don't know if you've ever done it on Teams.
No.
But there's a thing about Teams that came into my head, and you won't remember this, Charlie, but you might, Mark, you know. There was a programme on the TV called The Muppets.
Yeah.
And
I know the Muppets.
They all had their little
They're still going,
little
aren't they?
holes where when they was doing the music at the beginning, they all had their little things, and the Muppet was in an individual hole, and that's like a Teams meeting on not with your colleagues, but I mean
They were like little
with
arches,
a speed with little
Yeah.
arches with a speed awareness course. That's what it's like.
Are you saying that you're on a
brought back me
course?
all I was waiting for is a dun 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 dun. Do you know about that music?
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for.
How many people do they put onto the course?
There was about 10 people,
Okay.
and that's what done me head in. Not the course. The guy was a bit happy chappy, you know, ex driver, military, I think, you know, ex lorry driver. So I wound him up about, you know, when you're driving. That's the other thing that does me nutting is you're driving in the 50 zone on the motorway when they're fixing, they're fixing the road, and a fucking lorry comes past you at whatever speed.
Oh, yeah,
and he's going, oh, they're restricted. It might seem like they're going. And it was like the drivers' union. He was like, well, they might think they're going past you at faster speed, but they're probably restricted to 56. So, well, isn't that still 10% more than what they're meant to be doing? Considering I've just been done for 9 mile an hour, I just don't get it. Anyway, that wasn't what done me head in. Why is it that people think that you want to know their life story? That you're on there for 3 hours. 3 hours, yeah? You can't do nothing. You get a little 15-minute break. And the bloke said, look, if we do well, we can get away a little bit earlier. Do you know what I mean? We're just... But we got to keep it to a thing. So the first break is an hour and a bit, hour and 15, and you get 15 minutes. I don't know how we got to the first break. You know, there was a guy from Wales, and he wants to tell you everything about how... The Welsh 20 mile, 30 mile an hour for us now is only 20 mile an hour. Do you know that if you're in Wales? So,
Yeah, I did see that.
it's gone down to 20 mile an hour. And he didn't know. Well, I know, and I don't live in fucking Wales, do I?
Well, I know.
Like
as well.
you just said.
I know, yeah.
So get your head out your arse, you know what I mean? And do it. And there was one woman on there going, she was like the collective. She was speaking as if it was she was the team leader. And he would say... so you've got it's a 30 mile an hour. Always know it's 30 mile an hour if you drive into a place and it's got street lights. If it's got street lights, it's 30 mile an hour. And she's going, yeah, we know that. Yeah, we all know that. Yes, don't we? Yeah, we all know that. And we're like, do we? A couple of people didn't. But it was the people that done me head in. And every time we're doing a question, what do you think? Someone's got a story to tell about their life. Now, it's normally would be me, wouldn't it? But I'm sitting there thinking, well, do you want to move on a little bit? Move on, I don't really care that the sun was in my eye when I went around the corner there at that time, and there was a school belt, and I only did this, and I don't think it's right that I was only doing 2 mile an hour in this zone. Fucking get on with it. It really ripped the nuts out of me. I was sat there for 3 hours, like bit by bit, you could see me sinking down, and he's going, right on the book what you want to do, and I'm writing on the fucking book, and you've got to show him on the screen, and I'm going like that with a book, and he's going, yeah, thank you, and he can't see anything on there, so it was just a load of shite, really. But that was 3 hours of my life I'll never get back, and I think I'll make sure that I know where them cameras are now.
Yeah.
Even though I've got a thing on my card that tells me where the cameras are, but I was obviously singing along as you do, whatever.
What's Kiss 100?
Yeah, Kiss. Yeah, or 70s classics or whatever I was doing. So that's what done my nutting. So if you've ever been on one of them driving courses before,
I have, and I had a similar experience in that. I think the trouble is some of the people you got to bear in mind the guy doing the course, he doesn't care how you got there. He's there to deliver the course and make sure you get the information. He doesn't care who's peeved about what mile an hour they've done over what mile an hour. And the trouble you got is, as you said, Mark, they come on with their life stories because they're feeling bad. They've got a problem with it, haven't they? They've got the ump that they've got the course. They've got the ump that they got caught. But that comes out. But what really made me laugh is you got people that have been caught speeding. That's why they're all on the course. And yet when the bloke's showing up pictures of roads, like you said, oh, here's a road, and it's a clear road with street lights, and they're going, oh, yeah, it's 20. And he's going, no, that's 30, right? Or he'll put a carriageway up, and they'll go, yeah, that's 40. And he'll go, no, that's 60, right? And I think, oh my God. So not only you're the other way as well. It's one thing to get caught speeding. If you could get caught for going too slow, they'd get that as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the thing I noticed online is that they show you some videos, and you've got to work out what's going to happen next. And they go, the screen's going to go blank, and they'll tell you what's going to happen next. Of course, he's got a fucking $5.99 internet, the boy, isn't he? Obviously, he's government backed, so they're not going to pay for it. We've all got fucking VPN, fucking
super fibre
broadbands. So he's coming in and out going, you know what I mean? And then I got the questions wrong all 3 times, and he was like, surely by the 3rd one everyone's going to get it right. But every time he was playing the video, it would stutter, and then the black thing would come, and you think, what the fuck happened just a minute ago?
Yeah.
So you get 3 or 4 questions. I was just guessing them, but obviously guessing them wrong.
You mentioned about in the you know, like the average speed cameras that you get, like around the M25 in particular. I'm curious on this. I don't know if you boys know, but like if it's like 50, right? I'm driving at 50. Obviously, I don't want to get caught, and then like Mark did, and then there's like a car or like multiple cars, lorries, whatever, going definitely 56, like you say, more. 60, whatever, 70. Yeah. What's going on there? Like, are they getting caught, or are they?
Hopefully they are, but I don't know.
Hopefully they are, but they seem like they're just like I don't know. I just feel like they're doing it all the time. I don't know why. I'm only seeing them once, but I feel like that's just them. Like, if you're in a lorry, you're on the road all the time, right? So you must know. So,
they do. But that's why I think we said it in a previous podcast, because we're out the EU now as well.
Yeah.
The foreign cars and foreign lorries, a lot of the freight's foreign.
Yeah.
We've got no jurisdiction, as I understand it, to enforce a UK speed ticket.
No, only if you rent a car. So if you rent a car, they will go to that rental thing. Oh,
and then take it off.
If you take your own car over,
you can't. They can't.
Surely they
won't do it.
They won't be allowed back though. Surely that would be the jurisdiction that we'd have. Like, just say if you're speeding, then you just can't come back. No,
they just can't. They don't pursue it.
No. Anyway,
sorry. Yeah.
So do you want else to mine?
Yeah, what he's doing.
Right, I want your opinion on this, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just mine; it's yours as well, and everyone else's. So everyone's going to relate to this, right? Okay. My washing machine lies. And it's doing my head in, right?
Lies?
Yeah, it lies. No, you're going to get this right. Sometimes, like I look at the clock and I think, oh, I've got to go out, pick the kids up, do what I've got to do, right? If there's a certain wash I do that's an hour and 2 minutes, right? So I look at the clock and I think I've got an hour and 10, right? Before I've got to go and pick my daughter up. So I think I've got time to bang that on, power out that washing, get it dry. I can go, right? So I put it on. And I sort of think, it's been a while now, I'll have a little look, and we've 36 minutes left, cup of tea, watch a bit of the box or Hoover something, go back, 6 minutes, right? I don't really clock this yet, but now I'm thinking, I've got to go soon, right? And I'm thinking...
And it's not done.
I'm thinking, how has it got... Now, we still aren't finished. I've now got to leave at the same time it's due to finish, right? And that's not the bad bit. The bad bit is when it gets to 1 minute. That's when it's lying to you, right? Have you ever stood there? Because I've actually timed it because it's doing my nutting.
Can I just ask a question?
Well,
you sure when it says 1:02? You sure it's an hour and 2 minutes and it's not?
He's standing there for an hour.
No, it's definitely an hour.
I'm thinking it's 1 minute. He's standing there for an hour.
It's 102 minutes.
No, it's definitely one with the 2 dots and then 02, right?
Okay.
But when it starts doing this final spin thing, and I watch it count down from 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and then it gets to 1 minute, I think I might as well stand here because we're ready for action, right? And I've stood there, and I've stood there, and I've stood there.
I reckon it's 10 minutes.
Right, and
It must be saying 10
and in the end, I start thinking, I'll get my iPhone. I'm actually going to time this, right? And bearing in mind that I decided to time it after I'd already been waiting for a while, right?
Yeah.
And I got to well over a minute, and I thought, why are you saying a minute when you aren't a minute?
It must be 10 minutes.
So why? So that's what's doing my head in, because it's happening every wash.
I think it sounds like you're a little bit disorganised, Mark, with your timing. I mean, why wouldn't you take it forward an hour, half hour and know that your washing machine's going to shut before you go out of the house?
Because I've got to, it's at that point I think, have I got time for a wash? Otherwise I'll do the wash up when I get back. But my point is, why is it lying? Why is it saying it's got a minute left when it hasn't?
I think you just need
I
a
don't
washing
reckon
machine.
those two dots you're talking about are there. I reckon if you go back, it says 102 minutes.
I think
I
I've
reckon it
noticed,
does.
because
Yeah,
that's an
I
extra
reckon it
long.
does.
That's an extra. No, it's not. That's an extra long wash. Why would I think a wash is an hour when it's actually 2? Because then I get it. That really is. That's really me. That's me getting it right wrong. But even if you take all that aside, that final minute isn't a minute. So why is it saying a minute? Why don't you say 2 minutes? If it's 2 minutes, because I'll go and do something else.
Oh, I don't know.
So that's what's doing
What
my
brand,
head.
what brand is it?
Well, I've noticed it's happening on all of them, but my brand at the moment is Samsung,
Ah, okay.
right?
Fair enough.
And are we instigating that I don't know, they don't know the time at
I don't
Samsung
know.
or something?
I don't
I
know.
hope so, because they phone manufacturers as well.
I think Samsung do TVs, don't they?
Maybe the
Yeah.
Samsung, if you've got a Samsung phone and you've got the Samsung washing machine, maybe that time is the same. But with the Apple, it's a little bit more impatient. Maybe the Apple phone's a little bit more impatient. So you've
I reckon I've been hacked.
I reckon you have.
Someone's hacked
I reckon
me.
they're like, let's see how long we can get this geezer
There's
to
someone
stand
in
it for.
fucking
Time
Guangzhou
it.
City sitting there thinking, yeah, and we mess with Mark's gut. Let's tap
How long
into
can
his
we get
washing
him
machine,
waiting?
get him an extra couple of minutes to wind him up.
Yeah, right at the last minute as well. So we're going to do the full
When his
countdown.
train's coming in.
That's it.
He's
The
got to get a train station.
The full countdown to 1, but the last minute's actually going to last 5, just to really mess with your head. And it's succeeding. I just want, if Samsung's in,
And then you've got to hang it out, haven't you?
This is my point, because then when it's done, I've got to hang it up. And now I'm thinking, no, I'm late. Samsung has made me late.
God's sake. Well,
So that's what's doing
Samsung
my
needs to sort it
Well,
out. don't they?
anyone understands what Mark's done there. I think he's definitely got the
No, I want people to clock this and
Yeah.
email and write
Definitely
in.
write in
Everything
if
else. And
your
is your
experiences.
washing machine lying to you? There's our new, that's our thing.
If you got any
on
Samsung
LinkedIn.
washing machine instructions as well, if you could ping them.
They're all in
from up, that'd be
Chinese, Charlie. I
sound.
can't read them. In fact, maybe that's not the time. Maybe it's like Chinese letters. I can't. Maybe it's not 1. It's something else.
Absolutely.
Could be saying 10 in Chinese, couldn't it?
I think you're saying 10, surely. Right, it must be.
So what's doing your head in then?
What's doing my head in? Phone signal in Milton Keynes. It's random, but we're quite close to Milton Keynes here, right? So I spend quite a bit of time in Milton Keynes going over there, and for whatever reason, I can't get phone signal at all in Milton Keynes.
I've got an answer for you.
What?
What do you actually want to know?
Yeah.
Right. So I've noticed that we're all talking about it.
Yeah.
The phone signal in the last year has gone drastically crap. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Right. So a mate of mine who works in telecoms.
Well, mine's always been rubbish, to be fair.
It's got worse.
Really?
Right, and I'll tell you why. Because, so you get 4G, 5G, and all that, right? So the G stands for thousands, 5,000, right?
Yeah.
That's the band
Right.
that the phone is operating on, right?
Right.
So originally, if you go right back, we had 2G, 3G, 4G. Now we're on 5G, right?
Yeah.
So the lower the band, the more penetration it's got, the less data it can carry.
Right.
The higher the band, the more data you can carry, the less penetration. And when I say penetration, buildings, trees, hills, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So he actually told me categorically the difference between 5G and 2G, you need 6 5G masts to create the same penetration as a single 2G.
Mm.
And that's why, if you go right back to, you're probably too young for this, Charlie, but you'll remember this, when we used to hold the phone to our ears, chatting to our mates, and your ear would get hot because of the penetration.
Mm.
So it's the microwaves, the higher up the band you get, the thousands, the less penetration. They can't go through hills.
Oh, it's just ridiculous because it's like I just don't understand how you can be in a city like and not be able to either call someone or not be able to look at something on your phone. So I end up going to like Costco, right? I love Costco. So then I'm looking at all the stuff in there. You've got to be careful with Costco because you can obviously go and buy a load of stuff there and think that it's all cheap, but actually on a deal in Tesco, it's miles cheaper. So you've got to be careful. So then I'm looking on my phone to try and work out if that's actually worth sort of buying or not, right? I can't get a signal at all. And on top of that, even if you try and phone someone, just in general actually these days, phoning people, I don't know about you guys, you're obviously on the road a lot, but why is it that we're talking about 5G and that sort of thing, but yet you can't have a decent phone conversation?
Because there's not enough. What they've done,
mobile.
they've gone over to the masts.
Yeah.
They've gone to 5G without the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So if you look now, there's still new masts popping up that we haven't got. We've actually got less coverage, as in what you said, voice. We've got less coverage than we did 10 years ago.
I drive out of our offices here, go down the road, and there's like a patch where if you're on the phone to someone, you can't hear what they're saying, and they can't hear you. Like for a good 2-3 minutes, and I'm like, what is that about?
There's loads of black spots in here.
It's
I think
ridiculous.
that's technology in general, isn't it? It's like I could take a photograph on my iPhone of like that building down there and get good shot. But someone's murdered someone in the fucking street and there's 15 CCTV cameras and it's all like all blurry, isn't it?
Yeah.
When's someone going to sort out the CCTV?
Yeah.
It's like you can't. There's no way you're going to make out that person who's just done that crime.
That used to make me laugh on Crime Watch. They go, we're appealing to
Have you
anyone
seen
who
this
saw this guy in Threadneedle Street on the 15th at 8 p.m. And they show you this picture and you go,
It could be anyone.
Is it even human?
It could be anyone. It could be anyone.
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit. Yeah. So
that's that really.
So yeah. Apart from that, been a good January.
Yeah, great.
Start off of the new year. What else have I done? I'll shout out to Steve Kerslake and Construction Sport for inviting me on their podcast. So I went down there, done that.
Is it good?
Yeah, talk about mental health from a different point of view rather than just being all about operatives, about senior management and how we deal with things or don't deal with things and what the pressure is when you're trying to go up against paying the wages at the end of the month or paying suppliers and understanding the economy, which we're going to probably try and get into, are we? You know, what's going on? What have you noticed since we come back? I've personally found it reasonably buoyant. A lot of people out there thinking, some people are doom and gloom. But what do you reckon, guys? What do you reckon's happening out there? Do you think it's going to be a good 25 for the industry?
Do you know what? If you'd asked me a week ago, I would have said it was going to be a cautious year, because speaking to people involved with rail and highways and stuff like that, there seem to have been cutbacks and things like that. The things that were going to be spent on have turned onto planned maintenance as opposed to new stuff. Yeah, but this week, actually, to be fair, there's been some stuff in the news about Heathrow, about Lower Thames Crossing, so I think maybe the government have done their cuts and planned their cuts, but maybe there's actually some good stuff that's going to come to fruition now. So I'm a lot more optimistic now than I was a week ago. Definitely.
Well, yeah, she'd announced some good projects, but straight away, Heathrow Airport was the last one. Did you see that third runway? And you think, well, it's a good news story, but is it? Because when's it going to happen? We're talking probably a few years down the line, and the so-called Mayor of London is already on the back. He'd rather worry about stats on the environment, which I'm not going against the environment. I don't want loads of people going, but let's get it straight. The congestion charge has made no difference at all to London's congestion or ULEZ, because it's actually been reported that it's got worse over the years rather than better. And that's because people don't have to pay for it, because most of the people that travel in for work are getting paid to travel into work. There's very few normal people that are paying that 10 quid. And you just plan that in. If you're going to stay in London, you plan that as part of your cost of your trip away, didn't you? If you're driving into London.
Yeah.
But it's made no difference at all. And Heathrow Airport, without getting political, would rather worry about a little bit of environmental impact because there's a few more planes coming into another runway, rather than the thousands of jobs that it's going to create for the economy, and that's the person who's looking after London.
What I don't get is why Heathrow? Why are they going after Heathrow and adding the third runway? Because there's already a ridiculous amount of congestion. Obviously, it's going to impact the M25, which is just horrendous anyway, especially around that area. Like, why are they going after Heathrow? Why aren't they looking at like Luton and doing like a part of Luton instead? There's a lot more land.
Luton do want to do that though, don't they?
Yeah, but they should be focusing on that surely over Heathrow. Like, I just don't understand it. There's already so much built up area in Heathrow. There's only so many people you can get there.
It's to do with the distribution hubs.
Yeah,
I know, but like, come on, like Luton's not that far, you know, in comparison.
No, but what you got to remember is when you got a plane coming in, let's say a massive great Airbus, we all just think about it as passengers and suitcases.
Yeah.
But actually, what people don't realise is there's a lot of freight.
yeah.
But then divert it, like have it divert.
No, but you can't. They got warehouses.
What you got to understand about Heathrow as well is that Heathrow is like what you call a proper global international hub. So there's a lot of people, because we don't notice it from the UK because we tend to have some really good direct flight routes to like long drawn out places like New York and whatever.
Yeah.
Most of that comes from, but some people in Europe especially, they have to go to either Paris or to Heathrow to then go on to their journey. They can't really get a direct flight sometimes to Dubai or New York or whatever. So it's congested already. But the trouble is it's congested in that one pot area where they're talking about doing the third runway is on the north side, isn't it? Outside, and that will dive, and there'll be a tunnel underneath the M25, and it will be taking some of the traffic out of that really congested junction 15, where Terminal 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4, away from that area a little bit. But not only that, it's Luton are going to try and get another airport, but that's the reason you can't fly. People won't make a change to fly back into Luton Airport, and then because they'd have to go to Heathrow to then fly on to New York.
Yeah, but then they should like create some sort of like link. You know, they were doing obviously HS2 and stuff. Like, they should just think about like focusing on like even more of a direct link from Heathrow to Luton, right? So so that's just so you're sort of taking all of that out of one place and just sort of separating it. But I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Maybe you could go and protest with Swampy and
I'll do
and
that.
the mayor.
Yeah,
when they start. It's not going to happen for years. They'll be
it's going to take 15 years. I got as well.
Is that what it is?
15 years before the third runway is fully operational.
So it's another throwaway comment by the Labour Party, isn't it? Like
they haven't
gone in
even
and
signed.
said, "We'll do this." But they know that they're not. They probably won't be empowered by then.
No.
Elon Musk will be probably empowered by then, won't he?
Oh he's been threatening to come over and free us all, isn't he?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Isn't he now? He's got quite a good role in the government now, isn't he?
He's the director of efficiencies.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing that we're going to talk about another time, isn't it? When we were talking about what he's done there or Trump's done with the government there. He said everyone who works for government's going to have to come in the office to work. If you're in the office, you get paid. If you ain't in the office, you're not working. So the hybrid thing, we're going to talk about that in another episode, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's a whole different story, but interesting times.
Yeah.
But so what's the news then, Mark? What have we got? Have we got any?
Let's give you a bit of news to discuss. Because
give us an upbeat. Everyone wants a bit of an upbeat. We're going into February, which is the month of love.
I've actually chose some upbeat news because there's been loads of doom and gloom. You've nicked one of my news stories, which was about Heathrow. Right, so thanks for that.
Sorry, mate.
But what's happening? What size of project is that, though?
We don't know yet what Heathrow's going to be, because there was talk. I think, if I remember rightly, it's West Drayton, isn't it, just north of Heathrow, and that's the village that would effectively be taken out. But that's why I think it would take. You might
700 homes.
Yeah, this is the trouble. Where do you relocate them all? It's going to be a massive relocation problem.
Milton Keynes. They obviously need the
Charlie's
people.
got a bit of room up there.
They need the people there so they can afford to get a few more masts. And get 5G going.
See, exactly that. So a couple of other bits of news then worth discussing. So this is on the back of some previous bad news. So Tata Steel, lots of redundancies, wasn't there? Closed because of the blast furnaces didn't comply. They had to be shut. They didn't comply with the emissions regulations, so they had to end up closing them. Well, bit of great news. Sir Robert McAlpine has been appointed main contractor on Tata Steel's 1.25 billion low-carbon green steelmaking project at the Port Talbot Steelworks. And the reason why I mentioned that today, because I thought we could discuss it, is because I thought that was on a decline. I thought we were losing British Steel. I thought that I know it's owned by Tata, but I thought we were losing the works, and there was a lot of redundancies over there. But if that's right, that means the blast furnace is going to be back online, and all the jobs are going to come back. Is that right?
Well, possible, but there's the worry with all these things is the investment, and that's a good bit of news for investment into the UK. But there's a lot. They reckon there's more millionaires left in the last month or over Christmas, isn't there? Since Labour
22% left.
Yeah, and it's not about
22%
of millionaires left the UK.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And it's about the investment into it. It's surely you need we're not far from Luton. They're talking about stripping out the oldest Vauxhall plant, aren't they? Ever. Right by Luton Airport, and shutting that down, and you using that old guise of don't worry about it. You've got a job if you want to move to the north of England. And all these people have lived around here for years, and generations and generations, fourth generation of people working in that plant. And that's where I think people have got scared with, but everyone voted them in. But at the end of the day, that's what the government needs to do, is encourage people to invest in the UK, give them a tax break, make it easy for them. The biggest thing that makes me laugh about all this is that people aren't paying enough corporate tax on the businesses, that come over here, and they name all the big ones and the Googles and everything else like that. But how many people are they employing?
Yeah.
Really, seriously, get your nut round that. Who cares if Google pay £5 corporation tax at the end of the year if they're employing 3,000 people? And that's what I think we've got to look at is, to get people to invest in that kind of scheme, what's the incentive to employ people? Where's rather than ramping up national insurance, making it easier for people to employ
it's crazy.
People.
It's absolutely crazy. I think that it's, I know what you mean. I think there's a lot of people out there that will have issues with, companies like Google paying minimal tax, that is clearly a massive thing. But I think that it's I don't know, it's almost like, when you start a business, or you start up, or you're a small business, I feel like with the likes of the corporation taxes being increased so much, and national insurances, etc., it's like you say, where is the incentive, for people to do that? It's almost like you're discouraging the economy to grow by doing that, in my opinion.
But surely, so as a business person, surely there's a set of rules around tax, is there not? Set of rules.
Yeah.
And there's a set of things that you can put against to offset tax and stuff. You know what I mean? Well, don't have that set of rules then. Don't have the offset. Everyone pays the same amount.
Yeah.
If you turn over £1 billion, you pay 100 million tax. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's not what the rules are they? The rules are there. So you can't turn around and say, well, we need you to present your tax findings for this year and what your revenue is going to be and what you think you're going to pay, and then complain because somebody's used the rules to their advantage.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and what really frustrates me is when you look at the UK. This is from a government perspective. You have to look at the UK as a business. It is a business. Money comes in, money goes out. All we ever hear about is people talking about the money going out, right? There's an old saying in it, you can have both the taps running in the bath, but if the plug's left out or the water's, do you know what I mean? That you're losing all the water. No one ever stands up, do they, in government and gives you a P&L. If this was a company and a new person was taking over the company, it would be looking at the P&L. What we're spending on, what we're making, what's coming in. But with the government, there's pledges to do this, pledges to do that, cutting this, cutting that, based on what data?
Well, but I think that comes down to the people, isn't it? Look, we talked about the American election a little bit there. You know, I think there's a picture with them all on the plane. I think 5 of them on the plane there in the cabinet with Trump and Musk and all that are not. They're talking about being, they're all billionaires, but they're billionaires because they're business people. So then take the cabinet in the UK, and none of them have worked on a fucking market stall, never mind in a business and a big corporate world. But we've got one of them who's a chancellor, who's meant to be the FD of that said company. You know, how is that? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You should forget about, being voted in and all that malarkey. Vote the party in based on the best board that they've got.
I agree with that. Yeah, based on actual data. And then when you look at the UK, and this is my other point, when you look at the UK as a business, right? Surely, for our economy to be attractive and grow, you want corporations around the world, like let's say Tesla and Google and Facebook and whoever else, any major manufacturing company. You want offices over here, you want manufacturing facilities over here, because what that does is that creates, as you quite rightly said, Mark, that creates loads of jobs. What does loads of jobs pay? Income tax. So the government win anyway. Even if a massive company come over here and paid no corporation tax whatsoever, all the employees that work in there are all paying national insurance and income tax.
This has always been my, and there'd be economists out there that be screaming and going like, you don't know what you're talking about, which is fine. But I'm just a simple man on the street, So surely when we're talking about recessions and stuff like that, you only feel a recession, is it fair to say, if you're out of work? Yeah? If you're in work, things might go up a little bit, but as long as you can keep your head above water, you're doing okay. So isn't it the answer is to make sure that everyone is working rather than everyone not working? So whatever you've got to do to make that happen, then people will then choose, to spend their money how they want to spend their money.
Well, in order to make sure that everyone, is working, you need to create as many jobs as possible. And that means that if you, in order to create jobs, you need businesses that are doing well, right? And, sort of making it happen and that are invested in the country and the direction that the country's going in. So, to turn around and just like sort of rise all these taxes for these businesses, it's not the right thing to do, in my opinion. It really isn't. I think that there should be way more incentives out there for people to start a business or to, grow
employ
a business.
Someone. You want to employ another person in your team.
Employ someone,
that will make your business more efficient and therefore more established and stable and sustainable. Then, surely there should be some kind of support to do that.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's the. So what else is happening in the world of?
So in the
what have we got to look forward to?
What have we got to look forward to? Here's one. This is an interesting one. This is a statistic, right? Construction worker pay rose more than 5% last year, according to new official data. The Office for National Statistics revealed 21st of January. The median earnings in the sector were $2,633 per month in December 24, up 5.5%. So what I wanted to do is read that data to you, but what I also wanted to discuss is comparing, because we're in the construction industry, comparing our industry to other industries. Are we paid well or are we not paid so well?
It's a good question.
Construction? I think I had this conversation with a couple of people over the weekend when we was having a walk or having a beer. And do you know what's frightening is the amount of people that are paying, the wages that people are paying, especially in hire. What would you think a real? I mean, what we've lost, I think, in our industry is, especially in hire, we're talking now, we'll get onto construction in a minute, is there's obviously a lack of good people out there, but the average person now, and a salesperson, used to get X amount, and if you was good, you'd earn X amount, wouldn't you? Probably more than what your wages were, or equal, But now, there's hire reps out there that are insisting on 60 £70,000 before they've made a sale. And you're like, what planet are we on? But so I would say on that side, there's definitely an overpayment going somewhere. Engineers, but it's all about commodity, isn't it? Engineers are going to insist on more money because people are, and I don't know where it's all going. If you look at some of the results that are going to be coming out from some of the hire companies at the moment, yeah, and how they've restructured some of the big hire companies have restructured. The other results will be coming out in a month or so, and you see how really up against the wall they are, yeah, and you think, but they're still paying ridiculous money. And all they're doing is eroding their margin, and they're not saying no. When we get into hybrid working, there's a scheme out there, believe it or not, that people are working in the hire industry. 9 days they get a day off. Every 10th day they get a day off. So imagine that your 10th day falls on a Wednesday, and you're looking around and the engineers, oh yes, it's day off. So he gets an extra month. So they're giving away. So now we're only getting 10 months worth of work out of somebody. Yeah, out of the 12. So yeah, that I believe is higher. On construction, I think it's always relatively been high, don't you think? Where because it's kind of a skilled. There is a skill set here. I mean, let's not get it right. I'm not saying there isn't a skill set to working in a restaurant. Because you can go in, you can see when you don't get the service that you need a level of skill. But I just think that traditionally we have. If that answers your question, I think traditionally we have.
Yeah. Just kind of wondered with it going up 5%. Again, it's still under some of the when you look through COVID, post-COVID, and what it was pre. The 5%, people's wages are still eroded from the cost of living, aren't they? From food's gone up, fuel's gone up.
Well, that's ridiculous right now. And that's your answer. And I spoke. So going out to a pub, just a general pub, Sunday dinner. I'm not going back. I'm going back a few years, probably COVID, yeah, or before, just a little bit before when everyone was booming. I think you're paying about 12 quid, maybe a posh one, 15 quid. We're talking like 22, 23 £23 for roast dinner now in a local pub. Yeah. A steak, I don't know if you noticed a steak, but how much did you used to pay for your steak? It was always still a bit pricey, but you'd be paying about 19, 20 quid. It's like 36 quid the other day. Mate.
Was it really?
Yeah, £36. And we're talking basic restaurants now. So everything has gone up tremendously. I don't know if you noticed Christmas time, but things that you'd buy for your loved ones, perfumes and stuff like that. So if the same person's having the same perfume, I know it's gone up 40%. 40% since in a couple of years. So yeah, I suppose 5% don't even cut it, does it?
No, that's my point. So what sounds like a good wage rise, 5.5%. Then when you take into account what things have gone up,
I actually think that in the hire industry, I think that it's been higher than 5% increase over the last few years. It's gone significantly more. But I think that ultimately, I think there's a balance, because it is that there's been a lot of good that's happened as a result of I think a lot of companies as a result of COVID probably. But I think a lot of the way that everyone's thinking now is a bit more like woke, if you like, as well, like where, people are sort of just a bit more, companies have been a bit more flexible with regards to, sort of hybrid working or like different benefits. I've noticed so many businesses that are offering way more incentives than what, they did sort of 4 or 5 years ago, which is excellent for everyone, sort of that's working within the business. Obviously, if the company can do that, then that's also great. Why shouldn't they? It's a great, it's great to have perks where you're able to get X amount of holidays more. We've certainly done quite a bit as a business with our team in terms of, sort of bringing in, different perks, health insurance, that sort of thing, and, life insurance, whatever. But I think that it's difficult because it becomes a bit of a bidding war. And I think it comes down to the fact that there's not enough people with solid experience that is actually required in this day and age in the hire industry. So for example, if you're looking for a salesperson, often it'll be a case of, we need a salesperson to hit the ground running. And that comes at a cost, right? If you want somebody that can hit the ground running, that's got, 15, 20 years experience in sales, then there's only going to be a small pool of people out there that might actually have that in that given area with that particular industry knowledge, if it's like tools or, generators or whatever it might be. So, and I think that's where the salaries are going up quite a bit because of a lack of sort of, skilled people within the industry that have so many years of experience, especially with engineers. There's big bidding wars with engineers as well. It's there's not enough engineers, I'd say, in the industry. But what's happening as a result is that the only way that companies can combat that is by looking outside of the industry and probably by opening up their expectations slightly and thinking, well, someone that's worked on vehicles or HGVs, although they might actually have a very similar salary, there might be someone with just a little bit less experience, that might be a little less on their salary, that they could bring in their team and they could train somebody up within, sort of 3-4 months, that's got hydraulics, pneumatics, it's got engines and, sort of diesel engine experience. So I think there's that element of flexibility, but clearly it shows that there's a lot of businesses out there that have really needed someone ASAP to fill a role within their business, and they're going to pay what they need to in order to bring that person on board. But money isn't everything either. Ultimately it's a case of that lifestyle balance and that work-life sort of arrangement is really important to a lot of companies. There's been so many people I speak to that have moved for more money, but they absolutely hate the job that they're doing, they don't like the company, etc., and they'll take a drop to go back to a company that treats them well. So that's just my 2 pence on that. So
we touched on that the other day on our little chat, didn't we? I found it interesting where there's some good people out there on LinkedIn that seem to be struggling to find work, and you just wonder what's out there for. You probably answered this, Charlie. I think we spoke about a little bit about it, but what's the blocker for these people? It seems like we had a conversation and someone said to us, didn't they, that we go for a job with a particular agency and then they can't they don't get that job, which is fair enough. You're presented through and you've either got to click with that, but then they may be suited also to a different job with a different title, but they don't seem to be recognised by that particular company to be able to say, well, look, there's another one over here, we'll put you forward to that. And I think it'll be interesting to see your perspective on that. Why is that? What can we do, or give? What tips can we give to people? And then sometimes, we've had this before, and we've had the, Mark, where there might be a particular job available, and then you see the agency that's dealing with it, and how do you if you don't click with that agency? How do you, or you've been thought of only as that box by that agency? How do you then get the opportunity to go for a role? And there seems to be a disconnect there. And the one is the biggest club complaints, and that when we had a little bit of a get together with some of the industry people over the Christmas, we always get these networking events, nothing to do with agencies, was the lack of response from companies out there that are desperate for money, for people, and then they're advertising on LinkedIn. They're spending all these thousands of pounds on different platforms and bits and pieces like Indeed, and people are saying that they're putting themselves forward, and they don't hear anything, and they've got the qualifications exactly for that role. And then one guy goes, and then what I did, I was so thought I had the right qualifications for this. I've got the experience, which is the most important for that exact role. I end up phoning the company to try and get to the right person, and they went, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, well, we'll have a chat then. We'll try and set something up, and maybe we can have a Teams." And you're thinking, he's had to work double hard there, but he's already presented himself with a letter as it was required. He's had to go onto their portal. I won't say the contractor who it was. Had to go onto that portal that you have to register, put your bits and pieces on, and wait for the reply, and you don't get nothing. You don't get nothing at all. And it just seems to be that people are trying to find good people, but they're under their nose.
Yeah.
But, so what can people do out there to? get the job they want to get, Charlie?
I think there's so many angles. There's so many things that you mentioned there that I think raise really good questions, and I think that to try and answer them, I think that you've got a situation where, you know, often in businesses the HR are really stretched. You know, they might not have enough sort of resources, and their HR, and they're often recruiting these HR people. Often who we speak to are you know, HR people / recruiters, but then their main function was always HR. So, you know, they might not have, like, you know, sort of an internal recruiter. Often what happens is we'll end up speaking to internal recruiters that will then, you know, use us to then find candidates, because their pool isn't sort of as large as what we've got. I think that what you've got is, say, if we break it down, so when we talk about candidates, what can they do to sort of stand out if they feel like they're hitting that brick wall? I think that you've got you know, definitely go to an agency. If you feel like you're not clicking with that agency, I mean, the question is, why is that? And, you know, maybe that should be raised to, you know, whatever agency you're dealing with. I think that behind the scenes within an agency, what often happens is you'll get a client that is, so a company that's obviously trying to find whatever it might be. Let's just say it's a, you know, an operations director role. And, you know, the agency will be really trying hard to try and find this ideal person. And the company that they're working with would have told them exactly who this ideal person is. And often they are so specific in terms of what they're after, it's unreal. But as an agency, what you're often doing is you're trying to sort of fight against that, for want of a better term, to say, well, actually, you know, you should open your pool of people up, because there might be someone with slightly different experience here, but actually they can do X, Y, and Z. They can do that job for you that you're after. Yeah. And you've got this whole situation where you've got, like, you know, will and skill. You know, if someone's like really willing to do a great job and, you know, they've got the skills to do it, then ultimately that's a fantastic mix, right? But if you've got someone with loads of skills but they've got no will, then actually they won't do that job as well. So it's almost like a case of, you've really got to find the right people. I think that, you know, there might be people often as well, is that, you know, because if you're applying for a role, you might not know the full picture. And, you know, often adverts are designed to attract a candidate. So they might be a little bit general. So you might be sort of looking at that and thinking, you know, whether this is with an agency or a company or whatever, you might be thinking, oh, I tick all of those boxes, why aren't I being considered? But actually what you don't realise is that if you've sort of chopped around every single job for the last 5 to 10 years, then they won't want to consider that. You know, they won't want to see that, because stability is so valued, you know, this day and age. So again, it's about not knowing the full picture. And I think if anybody's getting to a point where they're battling and they don't feel like they're clicking with that agency because they don't feel like they're being seriously considered for a role that they are applying for, I would be calling that agency up and asking them why they think that is, and then just trying to combat that. But sometimes if there's a client that's turned around, a company that's recruiting, and they've turned around and they need X, Y, and Z, and you haven't got that, then the black and white thing is that you're not, unfortunately, going to be considered. But with us, you know, it's a case of, we will actually look at that as potentially a learning curve, because I've mentioned before, sometimes X, Y, and Z may not exist. So this is like a learning experience where we would go out there, we would aim to try and find that absolute person, you know, the ideal person for that role. But if they don't exist, then it's ultimately a time to have a conversation with that client and say, look, you know, we haven't found this person. But that's when we'd have like a bit of a reserve pile almost. Again, not the nicest word actually, but it's almost like, you know, candidates that absolutely could do the job, but the client hasn't said that they want them at this point because they don't fit X, Y, and Z category. And at that point, you'd look at that reserve pile and be like, well, look, we've got this person, this person, this person, this person. They could all do that job all day. So we're going to push them over to you, and we'd strongly suggest that you actually interview them and you bring them in, you know, and have a conversation. And quite often we will be doing that, you know, with clients, and quite often we'll end up getting offers out of that as well, you know. So I think that answers some of the questions there. I mean, what did I miss there?
I just think I think there is a lot of it I've seen, or what people have said to me, it sounds a lot to do with how quickly companies react and want someone. Yeah. And there seems to, and I'm probably guilty of that in my life as well, you know, where, shit, Charlie, can you get me someone tomorrow for that job? And you're thinking, I understand that if it's a someone's just left or something's, you know, whatever, and you need to really replace that person as quickly as you can. But some of the times I think there's little thought in it, and I think the saying is slow to hire, quick to fire is what you should be doing, and people need to slow down sometimes their process. But as soon as they find the person, it's like, or they think they found, it's like they get drunk on it, don't they? And they take someone on, and then within 6 months it's not the right person.
It's often quick to hire, quick to fire.
Yeah.
You know, that's often what the term is. But there is that real fine line, because, you know, the biggest issue I think in, you know, recruitment at the moment is, you know, businesses not understanding how important time to hire is. And actually, you know, it's a contradiction, because you know, a lot of companies need to speed up that hiring process, because what ultimately happens is that, you know, the market is buoyant, the market is strong, everyone's out for, you know, an engineer or whatever it is. So ultimately what happens is, you know, we could find an absolutely fantastic engineer, but, you know, they've got 3 other interviews with, you know, another business. And actually, you know, if we don't act quickly, and we'll advise that client to act quickly, and that those other interviews, they won't be through us. They'll be interviews they probably got themselves, you know, directly, and they will we'll be saying, look, you need to get them in for an interview, at least a face-to-face, get them engaged, get that buy-in, and that might take a week. It's too long. It's too long. You need to be like 2-3 days. You know, it really needs to be that quick. So
because if the challenge is as well, if somebody's, I think when you get a candidate, at the point they decide, it's like a door. It's either open or closed. Yeah. If you've got a candidate that decides, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't like it, or I need more money, or I'm moving house, or whatever the reason is that they're leaving, I think once you make that decision, I'm going to leave, it doesn't change, does it?
No.
It doesn't change. So you're right, because I then think they're now actively seeking for new work. And if they have an interview with somebody who then takes 2 weeks, because they've already actively switched off, they want out.
Yeah.
If you take 2 weeks, well, I ain't being funny, they found a job a week and a half ago now. So, and I've seen that before. I've seen companies do that. I've seen companies go back to employees, potential employees who've since, while they've been taking so long to make a decision, since found something else. Yeah. And I think we've had many podcasts where we've talked about the lack of resource out there, the lack of skilled resource. And I think one of the biggest challenges companies have, certainly in our industry, and you hit the nail on the head, Charlie, and I completely agree with you, is you've got a potential resource provided by you, for example. Yeah, you've got these people that you send for interviews because you've job matched them or skill matched them. Yeah. And they're allowing that resource to come and go. And you're right, I don't think they've identified, if there was, you know, if we was back in a day when there was eye controllers, 10 a penny and all that, but they're not anymore. Not good ones. Yeah. You know, and I think, I agree with what you're saying. I think that's a mindset though. I think it's a mindset, and that's probably a challenge that, you know, you've got, because I suppose when you engage with the companies you deal with, not only are you trying to sell your services, but I suppose you're also trying to help their mindset to understand that when I do provide you with some candidates that would be potentially suitable for the role that you've told me you want to fill, the decision needs to be made quickly, because otherwise they'll be talking to other people, and if they are good, they might well be, and I've seen people get a job in 24 hours.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. It happens.
You know,
but I've done it myself, Mark. I've been, I've literally spoke to someone, and sometimes you get offered a role as well. People, which is nice. Sometimes people will come after you, and they'll say, "I know who you are," blah blah blah, and they'll offer you a role. But some people just get drunk on that. I get worried. I would get worried if I was a candidate. If I went to a job role and they went, "Oh, this is great, fantastic. When can you start?" You know, I think you need that. You need to come away. You need to get drunk on some things, and many positions don't work out because that person's too quick to say, "Oh, come and work for me tomorrow." Unless you don't know that. If you don't know that person, and then you'll go, "Yeah, okay," because you've got a bit of an ego there now, because and you walk away from a role and then you start another role, and you don't know anything about that company. You don't know what they're, and they're probably the companies that've got massive churn. That they're turning over staff all the time because they haven't really explained what's expected of you. But it sounds like your side of the business is kind of buoyant at the moment, which is good. That's good. It was positive news. And construction and plant hires reasonable. Lower Thames crossing.
It's picking up now. I think,
announced.
I think we're. I'm quite excited to see now what we've had a little bit of stagnation. I think the last few months, and maybe that's the government, the cabinet reshuffling things and getting their figures in order. But yeah, I think I'll be honest with you. I think the country's in a place where I think the government have acknowledged that we need growth and that now. So I think plant hire and construction will be.
We need a bit of good news, don't we?
Yeah.
So on good news, all right, before we can go and maybe find out some of them lovely roles that you hopefully got.
Absolutely.
While we've been tossing it off over New Year and Christmas and doing whatever we've been doing, we've had people still come in with some decent. I thought the nickname thing would have gone by now.
Are we still doing this?
Yeah, but
this is brilliant.
But Dan from said plant hire company, he said we call out one of our guys in the yard. We call him wheelbarrow because he only works when he's pushed. One of the guys said in the board of directors of his company, he said, this is a particularly young director, says we call him deck chair because he folds under pressure.
Classic.
The one that I think I've had a few bosses like this. I think I used to call my boss this, actually. He was called Noodles. Thinks all jobs take 2 minutes. The good one here is and we've all known one of these people. Tamsin sent in from a particular construction company. She said, "I think I've got a boss we call him Mastercard because he takes all the credit for someone else's work." What else is there? Quite a few here actually. Protected. We'll do the last one. The last one, the guy wrote in his. He said, "We've got a guy called Jim, but we call him cordless because he only works for 2 hours." So good to see they're still coming in. So carry on sending them.
Oh, please send them in. I like them.
Send them in. So what have you got, Charlie? What we looking at? Well, we go for our sponsors' little jingle in a minute.
Absolutely.
Is there anything meaty out there you're trying to attract?
I think so. I mean, there's definitely visit the website, pathrecruitment.com for all of these. But in terms of the roles, the hot roles that we've got at the moment, we've got a lot of plant fitter roles, as I mentioned. There's a lot of plant fitter roles, specifically around sort of Bedfordshire, Luton, Stevenage, North East London, sort of that sort of area as well. So
any particular flavour, access, or all over?
Plant specifically, actually, yeah. So as in, sort of excavators, dumpers, the lot. So if you've got experience on, hydraulics, pneumatics, diesel engines, that sort of thing, tracked equipment, then that's give us a shout. I mean, I think that also, I'd be interested to see if there's anybody outside of the box on this as well. So, if you haven't...
What about, though, somebody needs to take a chance on one of the big companies out there that have got a training school, or maybe the CITB, if they can wake up and listen, is maybe they get themselves down to the Vauxhall plant and see who's out there, who's engineering-wise that could be trained to be a plant fitter. That would be a great bit of innovation if anyone's out there listening. All day.
Salaries will range depending on experience. I mean, you've got anywhere between sort of, as a basic salary, you've got anywhere between sort of, 30 and 45k, like I say, depending on experience, but also with overtime, you could sort of be raking in sort of in the sort of mid to high 50s potentially. So, good packages there. In terms of sales, we've got some sales opportunities up in the northwest or Lancashire area. So they're sort of going around the 40 to 50k mark at the moment. There's potentially a little bit more in there as well for obviously the right people with good track records, good stability, that sort of thing. But don't be afraid to apply if you feel like you you sort of tick the right boxes there. And these guys are actually looking, outside of the box to a certain degree as well. So if you haven't, it's predominantly sort of generator hire, that sort of thing. That's mainly what they do. But I think that if we had somebody that doesn't necessarily have that experience, but they've, sort of just had a good track record of business to business sales, then we'll consider them as well. So that would be sound. And also there's a really good sort of commission package of sort of over 20k potentially for that as well, which is nice. We've got hire controller roles up in Manchester as well. So they're around sort of 30k basic salary, but there's around a 15k OTE for that on target earnings. So that's a really, really good salary there for a hire controller, to be honest. So that's ideal. And then we've also got what else we've got? So some tool fitter roles in Birmingham as well, around the 35k mark. So if you've got tool knowledge of pat testing or sort of small tools, working on that sort of thing, even like ground care equipment, give us a shout on that as well. So yeah, have a look at the website, check that out. But that's my roundup for today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully some people out there listening will get going.
Absolutely.
If you're looking for something or a change.
Absolutely. Yeah. There we go.
So round up, eh?
Yeah.
I'd say it was good to be back in it. A new venue at the moment. We'll do this, courtesy of Path.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we'll have to make it a bit more homely, won't we? I think at some
I'll get
point.
another tea.
You what? Another
I'll
tea?
get another tea.
Oh yeah.
well, you got to ask to get a tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I'm in the middle of a podcast, Mark. I'll
I
tell you.
remember last time. Hold on a minute, right? Do you remember our first podcast when we ordered coffees and they didn't even turn up? In fact, we ordered the coffees before we started.
That was the producer's fault, mate.
It was, wasn't it?
He done it on an app,
That was
one of those apps.
Yeah,
that
you'd
was
be lucky
too
if you
far.
get
But at
that.
least I can face you up.
The calf was there, but he done it on an app.
yeah.
I wondered why the bloke was like, fucking walk down the stairs and get a cup of tea.
See, that's what we should say. That could be the topic for another podcast.
Yep.
Right?
But
Is technology ruining fitness and health?
Of course it is. You don't have to leave anywhere no more. You don't have to leave in it. If you've got kids in your house that are between the ages of 20 and 25, yeah, you'll get 3 knocks at the door that you've never had every night with a McDonald's or
Just Eat
KFC
and all
or
this.
whatever at the door,
Yeah.
and then an Amazon parcel and whatever. They don't leave at it. When I was young, if your mum sent you to your room, that was it. It was terrible, wasn't it? It was like because you had nothing in your room.
Didn't even have a TV.
Yeah? You had nothing. But now they got game stations like VR headsets, 65-inch. You don't want to leave the room, do they?
That's the other way around.
And now they can
yeah.
order food to the door. It's a different
You remember
world.
the
What a
old?
world.
You remember the old wharfs? You used to have the little wheel on the rope, and they could wheel up and down.
Yeah, Jenny wheels,
yeah. That's what the next thing is. You'll be sitting there watching. I don't know what you watch, but you'll be sitting there watching Coronation Street, and you'll hear.
I was up a
with the old
roof
wheel
Mark,
going up.
many years ago. I was up a roof. We were knocking, and I'll tell you what, it was the most frightening thing. So the Ginny wheel starts coming up, and in the basket was a 5-year-old kid, and at the bottom there was his mates. Now, obviously, our security on site was shit in them days. Had a little bit of Harris fencing. They just walked in and they just whatever. I grabbed the basket and then got the kid out of the basket. Fucking hell. And I was so annoyed with it. And I walked down, I was saying to him, fucking hell, I had to carry him down the stairs because, down the ladders.
Oh,
and
the hacky
scaffold.
stairs. Hacky
No,
stairs.
there was no hacky stairs in them days, mate. It was a straight fucking pole ladder, wasn't it?
Oh, God.
Straight down, fucking hell. And moaned it. He's like, he's a bit fucking frightened now. So and then got the other kids, round. I said, where does he live? Where do you live? I said, I ain't going anywhere. I'm going to either phone the police or where do you live? So went to his house, knocked on the door, and the parents were like, fuck, and I told him, and he obviously got a bit of a bollocking, but not much of one, because the next day, we got in there, and these kids had rubbed dog shit all over the rope,
My
just because they
God.
got a dog in, you know what I mean? Well, it was East London, so you'd expect it, what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
But I'm from East London as well, so don't write in and say, But Yeah, that was that's my Ginny Wig story. It's most frightening time I've ever had was seeing a 5-year-old kid at the top of, I think we were 5 stories up, and then his mates were like that, holding on to him.
That's mate.
Anyway,
do you want my Ginny Wig story
bombshell.
really quickly?
Thanks for. We'll have a break now, and thanks for coming in.
The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.